Welcome to today's video. In this one, we have got another sunrise mission, but it's a Thursday morning, not a Friday morning like I've been doing. Today's video, I'm gonna walk you through some of my tips for shooting sunrise and really just keep things light. I love doing these little vlog style videos. You guys seem to really like them, so I'm happy to kind of make these things and show you my little photography adventures in the city. So if you have any feedback or want to see different spots of Toronto photographed, let me know. For this one, we are at Trillium Park. We're going to be taking a cityscape photo with the sun right behind the city. The cool part about this location is that it is east facing. So you get a beautiful sunrise looking up over the water with the CN Tower in the background. And overall, it's just a really nice location. So we're gonna head on over to the photo spot and then I'm gonna talk you through some of my tips for capturing sunrise. All right, so we grabbed the first photo on location. We're actually going to a different spot than the one you just saw, but I figured that it would actually be a good time to talk about camera settings. Now, when you're shooting sunrise, I'm gonna say there's no, best camera settings to follow because it just depends on what you're shooting during sunrise. For today, we're shooting the cityscape. So more specifically, it's like landscape sunrise photography. For landscapes, there are specific settings that you can follow, but again, it'll change. So what we're doing today is I'm probably gonna keep my aperture at f8. This is because I wanna have a lot of the cityscape in focus. Could even go up to f12 if I really wanted to. ISO, we're gonna try and keep as low as possible. There's a lot of light, there's not a lot of cloud cover right now, so we don't need to compensate for anything with a high ISO. So keeping it around 100, and then shutter really is gonna depend. And shutter's cool because that's gonna let us really play around with what we want the water to look like. Obviously, Toronto is on Lake Ontario, which means that we have a lot of opportunity to get either some long exposures of the water or see what we can do. So I didn't bring an ND filter with me, but we're going to play around with some exposure and we can see what we can get. But so the shutter speed, we can either keep as high as we want to really freeze frame the water, or we can keep it a little lower to get a smooth and buttery water in frame. So for that first photo, that's exactly what I did. I had 1/200 as my settings, f8 as my aperture, and then an ISO of 100. So those will be generally the camera settings for the day, and then we can take it off, get the tripod out, see if we can play around with the mist filter and get creative. This is our location. We're gonna head on over to the edge of the water here and set up our tripod. Now, I got two cameras today. We got the Sony a7 IV, but we got the Sony a1 in the bag, and I was shooting Victoria Day fireworks, so I've got the tripod mount on that one, which means sticking to things as we want them. We're gonna use that one for today's photo. So we're gonna put this down just for now, because we will be using it again at some point, I'm sure. It's got the 16 to 35 mil on it, which is great for taking cityscape photos if you want something wide and you're close up like we are today. But the Sony A1's got the 24 to 70. So we're gonna get a little creative with that one because we also have a mist filter on it. And that's gonna lead me to the second point of today, which is gear. What gear do you need to actually shoot sunrise? Well, there's a few things that I'm always bringing for sunrise shoots. It's not to say I use them all the time. It really just depends what I'm trying to do. By the way, the bugs today are horrendous. I hope they're not getting in the way of the video because they're definitely getting in the way of me. But the main thing obviously being a tripod. A lot of times during sunrise, there isn't a lot of light, there is cloud cover, and you're gonna wanna make sure you can get a fast shutter of some sort and really just nail it. So even though we probably don't need the tripod today for today's video, I am gonna just use it. So we've got the Sony A1 just sitting right here on the tripod, pointing out into the cityscape. We've got the sun poking out off into the background there. And this is what we're exposing for. So we're gonna expose for the sun because we want the sky. And then this, when we go bring it into post, we're going to lift the shadows, add the contrast, and we should be good. And so when you got your tripod set up and you're comfortable with what you're trying to do, the next thing that you're gonna wanna think about is what focal length you're actually gonna wanna shoot your photos on. So we've obviously got the 16-35 and the 24-70 of our choices today. And why we're going with the 24-70 is because at this location, already having used the 16-35, the photo spot seems to look best at 35 mil. So I'm gonna grab that photo anyway, but the 70mm is gonna let me really dial in just a bit more on the cityscape and capture some of the better details that we're looking at. So things like the CN Tower I can zoom in on, maybe a different composition of the cityscape itself, and just have like more of a story being told. And so I'll put that up on the screen now with the 70mm. Already I'm like very happy with that composition. I think it's fairly unique, to be honest. I don't think a lot of people are really going to shoot this spot at a 70mm. And the reason why I swapped over to the Sony A1 is just because it has that larger sensor. And one thing that I'm trying to work on is getting prints for my office. So selfishly, this is probably going to be a print if it turns out well. The sunrise itself isn't like that amazing, but you know, it is what it is. And so when you're thinking about your gear considerations on what lenses to bring to something like this, I'm going to say that think about what the goal photo is that you're wanting to capture, whether it's a hero photo or you're wanting to get a little bit experimental like we are right now. And if your hero photo, which we know looks best at 35mm, works out for you and you want to shoot wide, get that 16-35mm. Great for landscape photography, those bigger, more picturesque locations. But Toronto's landscape photos tend to be a little tighter. And I know I'm not gonna need a 16mm because there's just not a lot going on that I'm trying to capture in frame. It's really right in front of me with the cityscape. And having done this now for 3 to 4 years, I can get away with a lot with just the 24-70 and packing. More versatile and lighter. So yeah, tip 2, know your gear, know what to bring, and don't pack too heavy, even though I did today for the sake of today's example. It's actually really funny because the bugs are actually really bad right now, but we're gonna do tip number 3, which is to not just keep your camera on the tripod and get that main hero photo. The third tip is really just getting experimental with the location of where you're at. You wanna walk away a lot of the times with a more comprehensive photo set. So using things like a dirty foreground or maybe finding different leading lines compositions or just more compositional elements that we can take advantage of besides one main cityscape or landscape photo in this case. So we're gonna pop on over to a leading lines photo that I absolutely love. So we're gonna go head over there now and then we'll grab some other photos around the area. Okay, cool, we made it to the spot. Now, as you can see behind me, there is a road right here that leads off into the city. And it leads for a gorgeous photo with the leading lines, which it's fine as a photo in of itself. It's obviously not like the cityscape sunrise photo. It can be if you wanted to, but not for our purposes today for me. So as far as camera settings go, we're gonna keep things at around f8 because we can. We're gonna bring our shutter down, bring it down to a 1/400, and then grab our shot. See if we can walk on over here, get a better shot. We're gonna use 35, grab a wide. Now I noticed another element though, which is this little floaty. And I think that's pretty cool. So we can grab a shot of that. Again, bugs are horrendous. It's never easy, guys, I'm telling you, never easy. Let's grab this shot. This looks really neat. I like this. Very minimal, because again, we're just looking for compositions that tell a bit more of a story than the one hero landscape photo. So we have 2 more shots we're gonna get that are in my mind right now. One is of the Trillium Park gazebo, and then another one maybe of the Inukshuk or like some details around the area. And I think we can call it a day. A lot of backlighting going on today, so I'm sorry about that. But we got a really cool composition. If it wasn't for the garbage bags in frame, or the garbage cans, I would say this is a very cool spot. Just getting those Trillium Park gazebos there as well. I think this is just so nice. Got the sprinklers on, good vibes all the way around. When you're coming to a shoot location for sunrise, you just really gotta know what it is you're trying to take a photo of and be aware of how the light falls. Because it just depends on just how the light interacts with your location. You might be looking at a photo. Let's say you're going like to travel somewhere and you're looking like on vacation. You might see a sunrise photo and think it's sunset, get to the location, and realize that the light actually falls differently than how you wanted it to. Even if you're not a photographer, like you can just kind of get deceived that way. So just kind of being aware of how light interacts with your environment is important. I'm shooting this all in the Osmo Pocket, by the way. Great to walk around with. I'm absolutely in love with this camera. And so that is, those are the gazebos behind me. So I'm hiding in the tree shadow. Cool, we're gonna shoot this at 35. Quite happy with that. We're gonna grab another version of it just over here. Okay, I like this. So getting it off to the side. The angles on this are a little off, so let's see here. Yeah, that's better. I'm a fan of that one. And honestly, guys, it's just all about experimentation. Just don't be afraid to change it up. Look for different compositions. Again, we've got a leading line element right in front of me now with the road pointing directly to it, so that leads to a more interesting composition. And that's really what it's all about, is you have to just find those interesting compositional elements to really help your viewer get their attention to where you want it to go in your photos. You can't just take a photo of nothing and assume it's going to be an interesting photo. We're always looking for different ways to make it interesting. Found a leaf on the ground here with some water droplets on it. Tells more of a story if you really want to make that happen, right? It's just getting creative all the time. Because those are those detail elements that I'm talking about, is like a shot like that with the water droplets on the ground, or you want your photo viewers to feel like they're a part of the photo. And that's why things like textures are so important when you're capturing photography. Obviously, that's not a specific sunrise tip. It's definitely a tip for better photos. Now, we actually got a really cool composition here, so this will be the last photo. But as you can see, we have a subframing element now between these two trees with the CN Tower. The sun's over here, so it's not quite where we want it, but this is looking really nice, so we're gonna grab that shot. Now, I wish I had this shot with the golden hour light, because this is nice, don't get me wrong, but if we had that golden hour sunrise, this would just look incredible. Just means you have to come back. I can't tell you, I went to Banff a year ago, and all I want to do is go back. It's just such a stunning place with photos that I really wanted to capture. But that is going to wrap up today's video. So I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, be sure to let me know, and I will see you all in the next one. Thanks for watching.